Okay, today on the show, our guest is Shayla Twit. Let me start that over. My apologies. Okay, today on the show, our guest is Shayla Twit. She's a luxury agent with Coldwell Banker in Sarasota, Florida. Let me tell you more about Shayla. Now, Shayla has been selling real estate in sunny Sarasota, Florida since 2002, specializing in luxury and waterfront real estate in the Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte County areas. She prides herself on her high touch and artfully curated concierge style. Originally from Stevens Point, Wisconsin, she also hails from UWSP with a business and a French degrees. She comes from a large family, many of which are entrepreneurs as well. With her extra time, she will either be in the gym, playing with her two dogs or cat, or quite possibly volunteering with a fabulous team at the Humane Society at the Lakewood Ranch. To learn all things Shayla, please visit her website, sarasotarealestatesold.com. Let me say that again, sarasotarealestatesold.com. We'll have links to that in the show notes. Welcome, Shayla. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm excited to talk to you, DJ.
I'm excited to talk to you as well. Shayla and I were talking just before the show about I love Sarasota, so I am so excited. Like in my mind, I'm sitting next to you, soaking up some of the warmth of Florida right now. It is currently 11 degrees. No, I'm sorry. It is 11 degrees here in Chicago. It is sunny, but very, very cold. So appreciate you're probably having a warmer day than me.
I'll try to bring some warmth your way, shall we say, huh?
Love it. You've really done some super impressive things. I always like to start at the beginning of the journey because so many of our audience really wants to know, how you got started and then how you continued to evolve throughout your business. So how did you get into real estate?
Well, I didn't go to college to become a realtor. I went and I got my business degree and I came down to Sarasota, home of the Ringling Circus. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a circus, all right. And my younger brother was here. I never knew anything about Sarasota. And my younger brother, who was going to Ringling Art School, which is a really prestigious art school, by the way,
Yeah.
we didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about it only because my brother was here, and so he landed here. I came down right after college, and because nothing was really kind of working out back home, we just apply for any jobs.
Sure.
And nothing was exciting me anyway. And so I had never been to Sarasota. I packed up my 1991 red Oldsmobile. Okay, I don't even know how she made it out down here now. But I moved right in with him, which was so nice to have a place, and of course with my brother, and moved in with him. And within the first 6 months, I kind of was figuring my life out. I got a little job at Outback waiting tables. God knows I didn't go to school for that, but it was an interim job. And everywhere we went, the whole conversation evolved around real estate. And so I just thought, like, I think I would do well at it. I would enjoy it and excel and just have fun with it. So I ended up just getting into it right away within the first 6 months of living here.
Wow. That's quite a jump. And also too, like Florida has the most number of realtors per capita of any state. So there's tremendous competition out there.
I think I read somewhere as of, I think 2020, there were 195,000 in the state, which is insane. It's insane.
It is. It
It's
is
too
like
many.
I think it was something like every fifth person in Florida has their real estate license or something. It's something
Well,
crazy like that.
that's going to change here coming up now. But I think, a lot of that too is the people that are part-time, or they just do it here and there, or sell to their
Yeah.
families. So it weeds out a lot of those. And then it's like you have that population, and then you have the population that actually makes a living, and then you have the top 1%ers, I guess.
Correct.
I mean, there's other categories in between, but just to generalize.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We're starting to see here in Chicago a mass exodus of
Mhm.
the agents who are the onesie, twosie, do a couple deals a year. We're starting to see them exit the industry, which should be, I think, good news for a
Mhm.
lot of our listeners. It's also good news for us because we have a holding company. So those agents transfer over into a holding company a lot of times to keep their
Mhm.
license active. But the bottom line is there are people leaving the industry. And I think that will actually be beneficial to existing agents who are, more full-time or are really wanting to step on the gas in their business. Are you seeing that trend as well?
I'm feeling it. I feel like it's right now as we sit here and we're recording this early February, so it's dated, but 2023. But it's kind of an interim time right now. I feel like so like the showings are down even for me, and I've got some listings, and so I can only imagine for a new agent, they're probably
Yeah.
feeling that exponentially. And so you can't help but think that that's going to ultimately, affect them financially. And I'm feeling the buzz around, our office even, and we are in a top office. We do have some new agents there, and the buzz around the community because I have a big, I keep my hand on the pulse within the community and my colleagues, and just the talk about town and there's only so much business to go around. And I think
Yeah.
with agents exodusing, however you want to put it, that the cream will rise to the top and that sellers, if they're smart, knowing that their properties will take longer in the market, now they're going to want the full service agents. Now they're going to want the full marketing package. Marketing and advertising matter. And so if we don't have that experience, especially if you're new in the last 2 years, you don't know what you don't know, you know?
Yeah, I think you just said a lot of really great things. I think you're right. Now is the time to, if you are, if any of our listeners out there are wanting to really, attract more sellers, this is the year to get your marketing packets, your listing presentations on point. There's a ton of services that can help you do this, but realize that right now, of course, there's a lot of competition for listings. So if
Mhm.
you are going up against other teams, well, first of all, maybe consider joining a team, right? So, if you want to be a big player in your local market, find out who the teams are that are capturing this business and, take a look and see what do their marketing materials look like? What are their
Yeah.
listing
If they're willing
presentations?
to share that with you, that's gold. I mean, if I were a new agent, I would seek out someone that's been in the business a long time, that is a top agent, and mentor with that person if they're willing to do that. That is absolutely priceless. You're not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just doing what works for me as other agents do. And what works for me might not work for the other person. But I do think that honing in on your value proposition and really fine tuning it, outlining that for your sellers is important. I go in every single year and I revamp, I fine tune my marketing links that I send out as a prepackaged to my sellers. I revamped that this year because I was like, I really want to express to sellers like all of the unique curated services that we offer each and every seller. I can't drive that home enough because sometimes I get stuck when someone says, well, how are you different? Why would I hire you? And it's like I sometimes get stuck in the moment. So if you have it already outlined in a
It's a great
format, it's
point.
so much better.
That is a really, really like easily glossed over thing that I don't want to gloss over because really having a list of services that you provide to your clients is critical
Mhm.
because there are going to be those elevator kind of conversations where you only have, maybe they're in-person conversations where someone's like, hey, so how are you different from every other realtor in town? You need to have 3 or 4 things that you say that you do ready
Right.
to answer that question because let's face it, the other groups or teams or big producers in your local market have answers to those questions. Why should they trust you versus X? And it's not of course, to ever disparage anyone
Mhm.
who you're in competition with, but to sort of separate and elevate yourself. And so you do need to know your value proposition. I think that is such great advice. And it sort of
Yeah.
goes back to like when I first left college and had my first job, where they said, practice your objection handling, practice your value proposition, your elevator pitch in the mirror. I mean, it sounds silly, but you really should have 3 or 4 things, or I'm asking, or actually I should ask you. There should always be some information that you're able to provide about what's going on in the industry, to talk when you meet people. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
I would say yes, absolutely. And when I look back at like my older value propositions, I was too centered on me, and it was more about me. And I'm like, this is not about me. How great I am. I think agents, especially realtors, especially, I don't know if we're too egocentric or something like that. The ego is good, but to a point, right? You have to have ego and empathy for the other person's situation. So I totally switched that around, and I made sure, and I was very hyper focused on the fact that, like, I'm curating first impressions for you, and that's how we start the value proposition. Like everything I do is like an art. Like, when you go and you make a painting, and you start the painting, you step away from it, and then you come back with new ideas. So you take your time and make sure that from the wording to the photography and the entire package presentation is really thoughtful and made for that person and for that property, because everybody's property is as unique as them. And so we take
Yeah.
so much time and care into just the remarks that we put out. They're really thoughtful, so we start from there and kind of move our way through like the presentation.
Yeah, I love that. I think every home has a story, right? And
Hmm.
every home should be able to have that story be told. And really good realtors are able to do that. They're able
Yeah.
to identify certain characteristics of a home or a personality type of a home, sometimes even, and
Hmm.
really highlight and focus that. And that should all be uh coupled with the team or the individual agent's branding. So
Hmm.
we really encourage everyone to think about, this is the year to level up your sort of
Your
output,
brand and
your brand.
how you want to portray your clients and their properties. Like you want to stand out. Like instead of saying like, pointing out the obvious in the remarks, like paint a lifestyle, paint like you want people to imagine someone in that home and having a glass of wine at the rooftop, or whatever the attributes of the home you want to really highlight the most, and not cover up the objections, but almost address them in a way that's more artful, that you're not hiding something. Like if it's on a busy road, make it to a benefit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that you're not, people aren't getting there and saying like, oh, there's a railroad track in the back, but like you've already addressed it in a way
Yeah.
that's creative, to where, okay, like they're showing it, or they're coming to see this. This is probably a better quality showing, because they kind of already know a lot of that stuff.
There is a marketing principle of that I learned many, many, many years ago, called, if you can't fix it, feature it, which
That's
basically means that
right.
yeah, give all the information up front, and so that when the person arrives, they're fully aware of what the
Hmm.
situation, what the property has and doesn't have. um
Yeah.
I want to talk about leads, because everybody, of course, realtor businesses are contingent upon lead generation. And
Mhm.
I would love to know, right now, we know it's difficult, right? We're in a higher interest rate environment than realtors would prefer. So our lending partners are telling us that we might see rates in the fives, maybe the low sixes this year for 30-year fixed rates. That, of course, is
Mhm.
going to have an impact on the number of buyers who want to participate. So we also know inventory has dramatically shrunk. So we have this two difficult challenges this year. We have low inventory and higher rates, although I think the rates are still pretty reasonable historically.
Same.
But what are you doing to keep busy, stay productive, stay active, and stay positive?
Well, I learned early on, I was lucky enough to be introduced to the Buffini and Company system of referrals and repeat, that whole
Yeah.
model. So it's very, looking back at 20 years, I'm still in that company of just getting, having access to the back end system, which is great. And the whole principles behind it, which the definition of real estate is lead generation. It
Yeah.
is. And however you want to break that down is your question. So, for me, I've been doing this now almost 21 years. So I really have my database. So I'm careful to stay in touch with them. Not too much, but just enough. Like, so they'll hear from me, on a regular basis, whether, they're passively on social media, but they always get like a snail mail or an e-newsletter every single month. And so, staying in touch with those people, because if you're a longtime agent, the biggest thing you can do with what I would suggest is go back and source your business and keep doing what works and not reinvent the wheel there, and then figure out, okay, like 75%, 80% comes from repeat referral for me. So I keep touching those people, whether I call, text, email. I will say I started this within the last 9 months, I want to say, and I always touch them on the anniversary of the sale or purchase.
Love that.
But
So I'm going to pause you for a second because
okay,
you were saying so much
okay,
great stuff
okay,
that I'm gonna slow us down a little because
okay,
you're talking about home anniversary or we'll call it home sales transaction anniversary date.
yes,
So by the way, nobody knows their home anniversary date other than the
no,
realtor. So
nobody.
this is a great opportunity to basically create a birthday event for the property.
And make an excuse to reach out. So I took it a step further because I wanted it to be more personal, that this isn't a group email. Anybody can send a text. So I made time in my calendar, and you carve it out however you can, and you can stack them, but you go to the person's house or to the gate or however far you can get to the neighborhood or the clubhouse, whatever, as far into the house as you can get. And I do a personal video and I text it to them. And then I say in the video, I say, happy anniversary, you bought the house, blah, blah. And I just want to see how the family's doing. Yeah, whatever the message is. And then at the end of it, I'll say, I'm going to follow up and send you your equity update in an email today. So you get your annual equity update. It's hand selected, hand curated for you. And I've gotten so many good responses from that. It's
Amazing.
heartwarming. Yeah, because I'm like, I get excited to do that for them. And then I'm like, I can't wait for them to see it and respond. So it's fun.
And what you're saying is simple and yet super brilliant in a way because it really serves solves a couple problems. One is, okay, I'm not so busy right now because rates and the market and I'm not as busy. But what I could always do is do annual anniversary check-ins with my
Hmm.
past clients or it doesn't even have to be a past client. It could be literally anyone who owns a property. You could just say,
Yep.
hey, because I know as a homeowner, the thing that I would always be interested in hearing about is what's the
What is
property
it
worth,
worth?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of being able to send that to somebody on an annual basis, like, hey, I just did a little quick thing here for you. That is incredibly valuable to people, whether they want to move
It
or
is.
not.
And they remember that. And, you can take that same formula and spin it however you want. And whether they are just a friend, and you can look them up in the tax record and say, hey, I saw that you bought your house X, whatever years ago. I just thought I'd send you an equity up. It doesn't have to be a client. So if you're new and you're looking to get business, it's something to think about too. Like, you don't always have to be an agent of years and years in the. I mean, I started somewhere. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All these things
Yeah.
that you develop over time, they just become systems. And that's the other thing. You have to develop systems and consistency and just
Yeah,
put the things in your schedule and do like, I'm a big fan of recurring tasks.
me
So
too.
you do them every so whatever. So it pops up. This is what I have to do today. So you're not like, you know what you're going to do in the calendar. It's already organized.
Yeah, I think this is it's so funny. So we're here in Chicago. There's 47,000 realtors in our market here. I can count on one hand the number. So I moved into a place, new construction 2 years ago. I can count on one hand the number of mailers I've received. Not that mailers are the end all be all, but if anyone, and by the way, Chicago, one of the most aggressive, competitive real estate markets in the country.
Mhm.
You would, and I live in a new development in the city. You would think that even though I just purchased a property, realtors would be consistently
Bombarding.
um, bombarding me with, "Hey, here's what your home is worth. Here's what your
Yeah.
place is worth. Here's what the neighborhood's worth. Here, are you thinking of moving?" I've got maybe one or two letters in 2 years. So this is a
Wow.
huge opportunity. And again, understanding that mailers aren't, necessarily
I do
the
them.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
there's a huge opportunity out here to introduce yourself to people, because every homeowner is not every homeowner, but most homeowners want to know what their home property value is worth, right?
Hmm.
And they're going to go to Zillow, they're going to look up their Zestimate because that's what people do, and then you're going to come in and say, actually, I think Zillow's got it pretty close to right, but here's what I actually think your home is worth
Hmm.
based on my own research. Um, that you could do that all day long, every day, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so to your point, I've been doing the mailers. So I think it's a market to market thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mailers might not be for every market. I do
sure.
feel like that's probably the case. I will say for me in my market, I do a lot on Longboat Key, which is just north of Siesta Key in
Mhm.
Sarasota, and it's actually spans Sarasota, Manatee County of 9 miles. But so there with the demographics that are on Longboat, many snowbirds, lots of people that aren't even here. They're probably up in Chicago, when it's cold. And so they are getting my mailer. And in the mailer, they get the listings, they get the QR codes of all the recent YouTube videos I've done, and then on the back and some other things. And on the back, it's got all of the market stats for their neighborhood and what's transpired. So they're getting all that every single month without question. And so that's another system that we do too to keep in
I love
touch.
that. Yeah, so in between sales, you touching each one of your contacts, monthly or maybe even more often than that. How critical is having those structures in place so that people don't forget that you're their realtor, right?
It's really important because you never know where the business is going to come from. Even though I say, or another agent says, like, oh, repeat referral. But at the end of the day, they remember you because you're sending stuff out and on a regular basis. And so I reach them even more than that because I do have a YouTube channel too. And so I post on Tuesdays and Thursdays on my YouTube channel, in addition to those, among other advertising things that we do. And the YouTube channel, which goes into my mailer and it goes into my e-newsletter every single month. And what we do is like we talk to area businesses. We do an end of the month market update in great detail. We tour restaurants. We give, a lot of people really like the neighborhood tours because it's like, okay, you can show a house and it's like, to get the feel of the neighborhood, we take it a step further. So for example, if I take a new listing, I do that home tour on the YouTube and then we do a whole neighborhood tour. And so our sellers love that too. And it's something that we have fun with and that we share with the public. And it gets people to understand, like, get to know Sarasota and what's here and the lifestyle.
That
So,
is really quite smart because of course when people move anywhere, they want to know what is the culture like, what's the lifestyle.
mhm.
And if as agents, it's so interesting you're mentioning this. I've certainly had on guests before who have talked about, creating content, video content specifically around, different restaurants and retail shops and other community focused content to support the local industries. But this idea of doing it so deliberately is really important, I think. And I love the fact that you're doing this regular video content about lifestyle, like, hey, here's what it's like to actually live in this area. That is not necessarily real estate specific content, but it's incredibly important and valuable, along with schooling, as well, community, different opportunities that exist. So, how important are those sort of lifestyle, markers? How important is that to help bring in clients for you?
Well, it's been really a learning curve process. I will say that it is a marathon, not a sprint. The
Yeah,
YouTube, I think if you're not doing video, you're missing a whole channel, pun intended, of ways to get people to know who you are and to get business. If you're just going to do one or two videos, don't even do video. That's just my hardcore opinion on it, because it's like,
sure.
yeah, you and everybody else stops. So if you're going to do it, do even once a week or every 2 weeks, like stick to a schedule. Um, I'm starting to get more interaction with it. Now I'm not up to even 500 subscribers yet, but it's a challenging platform. I'll say that to grow.
Yeah,
But it's been fun. I think that people are now calling and saying, "Oh my gosh, I saw your YouTube," where they might have seen me, they may have Googled me first or Googled Sarasota Realtors, and then they stumble on me and then they see because my YouTube goes to my website and it auto uploads on my website too. So that's why you got to do so many things to be found, unless
yeah.
someone already knows about you. So,
Yeah. So this idea of creating content for on social media for the public, for
mhm.
your sphere of influence. I've uh, had hundreds of guests on the show over the years, and they all typically tend to focus on providing content, solving problems. I think
Mhm.
is a lot of times what drives content. So if you're a realtor out there and you're thinking about what should I be focused on social media, I always think, just write down the most common questions that you're receiving from your buyers, your sellers, and then start to create content around answering those
Yeah.
questions. Like, and I imagine in Sarasota, again, because when people move, obviously there's just a lot of things outside of the house that are factored in.
I mean, like, we think, like, so throughout the day, like, as you have conversations, as problems come up, as unique circumstances come up, we just write them down and we're like, oh, that'd be a good video. This would be a good video. And a lot of the conversations I have are, okay, I want to be walkable to this. I have a dog. Where are the dog places? So we did a walkability
Right.
video. We've done the dog park video. We've done the spas, the restaurants. It's not like anybody, like I said, anybody can just show a house all the time. And if that works for your page, great. For us, I wanted to mix it up and make it fun and just, again, it's people come here for the lifestyle. We have a lot of snowbirds here.
Mhm.
That's my main market, beachfront condos and all that stuff. And, they come and go and it's been part of the year or half the year, whatever. And they want to come here for the lifestyle and the sun. And, there's other benefits too, of course, the no state tax and all the other stuff. Unlike in Chicago where you're at with all the taxes, right?
Sure.
um, and so you want to tell them about all those great things and learn about the area in that way.
Yeah, and I'd love, being that you're in a competitive Sarasota, Southern Florida area. You're in a competitive agent environment here in Chicago. We are competitive as well. How do you differentiate yourself? What are some of the ways in which you sort of stand apart from other realtors?
Well, I think one of them is the YouTube channel because I know there's so many just start and they completely fall off. I mean, they do, and
Yeah,
it's interesting to watch that happen. And I'm happy to I guess not mentor people or they come and call me for advice, which is flattering. But I'm like, listen, this is how it is. Like, don't even start if you're just not going to commit. So
right.
I think because I put myself out there so much, on social media and the various avenues. I did actually get recently approached to do a professionally produced series, and it's called
Sure.
Inside Luxury Listings Sarasota. We actually did a little clip in the studio yesterday, and so it's going to be starting to be released in March. And again, that's something very different because it's collaborating with other agents in town, showcasing luxury properties that people couldn't get into otherwise unless they were on this, show. And we're just doing a different spin on it. And by me collaborating with, I mean, I was asked, it was a very generous offer to be asked to be on this. But now with SEO, I can tag him and her, and they can tag me. And it's just like, it's going to be mutually beneficial. So it's not like we don't look at that as competition. We look at
Right.
that as like there's enough business for everybody. And by us coming together, to give a different dynamic is just something really unique and fun and exciting.
Yeah, I think agents can really partner up and do these things themselves. Even agents at different offices can really partner up and you know
Work
do
together.
work together. It is called a cooperative commission. Let's not forget that.
That's
And
right.
yeah, there's so much opportunity out there. People have to live somewhere, right? And so
Absolutely.
I'm curious, what are you doing or what are you doing to help uh right now agents are struggling, interest rates, low inventory, buyers are in shorter supply than before. When we were at 3% rates. So how are you staying active, busy? What are you doing to, can keep your business rolling forward?
Well, I listen to basically from the time I get up in the morning, I'm listening to positive content like your channel here and
Mm,
others, just really positive mindset, real estate, millionaire, billionaire mindset, just like positive in, positive out,
yeah.
motivational. I have routines. I think routines are really impactful and important, and the discipline behind that because you can be motivated, not disciplined. So I go crazy. I get up at 4. I get up at 4 every morning, and I get to the gym because the days I don't work out, I just have anxiety. I just feel off. So once I get that workout in, I'm so much more motivated to tackle the day and get things done. And I think that those little rituals that you do, whether it's journaling or meditating or getting up and working out or like playing with your dogs or going for a walk to start the day, I think is immensely beneficial for people if they just start and then they stick with it.
Yeah, I think the last 5 episodes I've done, people interviews have been with all about Miracle Morning. So the Miracle Morning is a very common and popular sort of practice in the sort of self improvement world. And having habits, disciplines are really the kind of the keys to success. And so in this book, The Miracle Morning, they talk about your physical health, your spiritual health, you're basically setting yourself up for success early in the morning.
Mhm.
So it's business, physical, personal, etc. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I imagine that book probably had a significant impact on you as well. Um, so I guess maybe what I would be interested in is what your from a customer perspective, what do you think is helping uh, helping you separate yourself from the other agents in your area? What else are you doing aside from the CMAs?
I think that, well, especially when I'm working with a buyer or a seller, communication is my reputation. So,
Yeah.
what I mean by that is, for example, I just took a listing a week ago today, and it's, different market now. We gotta change things up here. So, and I'm reverting back to my old little habits that I did because over the last 2 years we didn't have to do all this. And that was one of them is, okay, it's been a week on the market. This is everything that we've done. All of the marketing, we're doing a broker's open. We called cold called, we've yada yada. And so it's all right there. And I like to do that before they can ask. Because when they ask, it's like, when the seller's saying, well, what have you been doing? It's
Right.
like, you don't want to be in that position. So I want to tackle it. I want to answer their questions before they even have the question. That's my
Yeah.
approach. And we also do a 30-day. And I don't know, beyond that, we'll still do it if we have to do a 60, 90-day. But do that before they ask the question, because it'll go a long way, not only just with putting them at ease, but also it will help if you need a price reduction. Because my seller's already thinking, she already said, okay, it's been slow. I think we priced a little too high. Let them come up with it first. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's funny. My boss, when he started our company here at Kale, I said, I asked him, what was your goal, Nick, as a broker, owner of a company, and with your clients? He said he only had one goal, which was he never wanted his client to have to call him first. He said, I never
Yes.
wanted a client to have to call me first. So basically, you just said essentially the same thing. So you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able, so this idea of reaching out and proactively um, having communication with your clients. Here's what's happening, or here's what's not happening. Here's why. Here's what, why, the how, why, what, where, wow, how, right? Like all just basically explaining here's where we're at, here's what's happening, and here's where we're going to move forward.
And
Um,
basically doing what you said you were going to do based on the listing presentation, or the marketing link, or however you
yeah.
produce that, or give that to them. This is everything we said we were going to do to this juncture, and like that's your word, and you're following through on your word, and you're being proactive, not reactive, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So when listings stay on the market, and for longer periods of time, of course, then that becomes they become vulnerable to possibly losing those listings. And so this is a great opportunity, guys. You really need to have a strategy so that a communication policy, so that uh, at a particular time, whether it's 7 days, 14 days, 30 days,
Yeah.
that that person is going to receive, that seller is going to receive information about how many eyeballs have checked
Mm-hmm.
out the property online, how many people have scheduled appointments, and then you can use that data to then say, based on other comps in the area, I'm not seeing as much interest in this property, or we're seeing more interest in this property, and you can make adjustments from there. Is that how you sort of work it?
Yeah, and your company might have like the automated, they'll get the number of impressions or whatever per week. We also have that with CoBanker Global Luxury, so that's already built into what they're getting. But I don't think that's enough, like for them to just get an automated something or other from the company. I
Sure.
think they need to hear from you. And another thing you can do, because you can get a feel for whether they to call, text, or email. Generally you can kind of tell people, like, go with that, read between the lines, and like if they prefer a phone call them and give them the rundown, um, and do it based on the client and their comfort zone too. But I think all of these things will show that it shows value. And again, people that are still living in 2020, 2022 market, this is going to be really critical in the 2023, market coming up for price reduction requests, because you've already shown you're not just sitting around and calling them when there's time to reduce the price. You've been doing all this work, all this quality, and now, okay, we haven't had anything. Let's get the price down to sell it.
Yeah, let's talk about marketing. I would love to learn a little bit more about how you prospect. Um, how do people find you? What advice do you have for agents who are maybe they don't have a lot of buyers and sellers right now? What would you recommend for them?
Well, everybody's got a phone. Yes or no? It's like a little
Yes.
computer that you carry around. You have people that you can call. I think what I see a lot of new agents doing, and it's like so redundant. All they do is they say, I'm new. I'm a new agent. Call me. Like, give me business. I'm available for referrals, buyers and sellers. I can do this and that, whatever. But I say, like, give them information, give them value,
Yeah.
give them answers to questions before they can, like, put that good content out there. It's still about content, right? And
Yep.
you can call, you can text them, you can email or whatever, FaceTime, and call your database. Go out into the community, and you have a hairdresser. Go stop by with like a little gift and just your card or something. That's the Buffini system, where they call them Popeyes. You don't have to do stuff that's expensive. Like, I started out of college, I didn't have any money, so you still have a phone. You can start calling people. I didn't know anybody. I knew nobody in town. My brother's not going to help me. He's in college. He's got his college buddies, and he doesn't know anybody. So I just started stopping by business. I just literally just walked into businesses, introduced myself. I mean, you got to be out there. You can cold call. You can get phone numbers now online. Like, you can just call neighborhoods and say, hey, did you know this is happening in your neighborhood? Like, can I get your email? Add them to the database. Now they're on a drip. Like, there's so many things you can do, whether you're new or a veteran.
I That's such great advice. Adding people to your database is really the key, and you're a Buffini person, and
Yeah.
everybody, we all love the Buffini and company. And what we want to do is really make sure that everybody understands that the most important thing for lead generation is adding contacts to your database. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you and I'm going back about 15 years, but Brian Buffini and Joe Niego, they would hold each other accountable for meeting a certain number of adding new people to their database when they were practicing real estate. So they would call each other, say, did you meet 2 to 5 new people a day? That was their goal, was to meet 2 to 5 new people every single day and add them to your database.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Shayla, that your network is your net worth, right?
Net
Like the
worth.
people.
Yes.
S-
Yeah.
So, I'm curious. So we're talking about staying in touch, right? We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about providing value, staying in touch in between the monoliths of buying and selling. So the transactions are the big, big boulders, and then we have all these things in between. And what we really want to do is provide value to the client between those big boulders. Um, and curious on what types of content that you're providing to them so that they, you know, remember that you're a realtor and that they're in that any real estate needs that they could.
That I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Well, just again, from keeping people, like, it's from, okay, like, you can, things to do. You can go to the ballet. I mean, people are always looking for stuff like that. Like, so
Yeah.
in the e-newsletter that we put out, there's more room than just the piece of paper that we mail. So the e-newsletter is a little bit of a spin-off of the mailer. And in that, there's more fun stuff, like fun happenings or like newsworthy things of Sarasota in the area and stuff like that, and like the restaurants and the other links and just different things like that. And outside of that, I have a whole list.
Yeah, I think with realtors who provide guides for their local communities. These can be incredibly helpful. Like, this is a silly example, but I was visiting my father, who was in Peoria last week, and it's just the weirdest thing to say, but in Peoria, there's a large Lebanese population for whatever reason. So I said, "Hey, Dad, let's go to what's the best Lebanese restaurant in town, right?" And so there's tons of them, and so
I bet you have a lot of them, yeah.
we do, yeah. And so I because I've been eating Lebanese food my entire life because that's where I grew up,
Oh my
and I was
gosh.
just curious. Yeah, so I was like, this is really interesting. So as a result, we went online, and there's like 20 different restaurants in Peoria that are Lebanese, and so we're like, I don't know which ones, but like those are the kind of things that I needed to, we needed to solve that problem. And I
Yeah.
didn't know which was the best thing. And this is where realtors can really add value and really
Mhm.
differentiate themselves outside of even just real estate advice itself.
Yeah, like you want to be the mayor of Sarasota or mayor of
Yeah.
Chicago or whatever. Like, and I thought that term was funny, but it kind of fit. And somebody else said that to me. They're like, "You're like the mayor of Sarasota." I'm like, "Well, good. That's kind of the goal." By the way, I'm half Turkish. Are you part
Oh, what?
Lebanese?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I was like, "You don't look
But
it." Okay.
no, no, I'm not. But the idea is the idea of coming together and trying to create value for people by solving problems for them, right? So like families
Mhm.
need to eat, families need to live somewhere. So
Yeah.
this idea of providing content around those basic needs oftentimes can be really fun, and it's as simple as really just taking your phone and turning it around and turning the camera on and saying, "Hey, today I'm talking about X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
But promote locally, and a lot of these businesses. The challenge here, this is such an opportunity. I think realtors really miss out on this. So what they don't understand is that what realtors don't understand is that they can reach out to these businesses and offer them, like, "Hey, I want to I love your product, service, your store, and I want to expose my audience to your wares, your whatever you're shilling,
Mhm.
and as a result, I would like you to also possibly mention me." So you're basically giving them free advertising by doing a reel or a video, a story about why you like this particular vendor in your local community, and then you can from there go on to create content supportive of that community, and then tag those different businesses in there, and hopefully drive more engagement.
This is actually how my channel started. So it's funny you say that because I was just going to be doing like logo, not just, but it's kind of started into from that. Because I've got friends who own businesses, and I just was like, oh, I want to have you on the channel. It benefits me because it's on the channel, but really it's promoting you, and I hope it drives customers to you. And it's been so nice to give back in that way, and it's complimentary. We don't ask anything in return. We have them on the video, and then we promote the video from these different platforms, email, social media, and the mailers, so they get hit a few different ways. And we pay for all that advertising, of course, and it gives the customer, the recipient of the piece of mail or email, whatever, something to look at and value. And, oh honey, let's go to this restaurant, or let's go check out the football game at this bar, or something like that. And it's cool. And actually, so we're coming up on our 300th video, and we invited everybody that has been a guest thus far on the channel to one of the first places I did a video at was Rafferty's Bar, downtown Main Street. And so we're gonna have it at the bar, and we're just gonna have like a happy hour, and we're gonna do a little video and pass the microphone around, and it's just gonna be like a big like to do, and we'll tag everybody, and it's just, and then they can meet each other and exchange cards. And it'll be like a little business networking thing on top of having this great video. And it's just like, it feels really good to do that stuff. And I didn't see it coming, this far like it has. And it's just been really enjoyable process.
Yeah, you've basically created a community, it sounds like,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
fun.
really exciting. And people like community. We
Mhm.
need it. We embrace it. And I always think like every single person uh, always is thinking about the weekend, right? Like, what am I going to do this weekend? What are the events going on? What am I going to do with my kids? What am I going to do with personally? And when you have these kind of event sort of structures in place, you can then begin to start to, just help
Yeah.
other residents in the area sort of know here's all the cool events that are happening in this area, and I think there's tremendous value in that.
And it just makes my heart happy. I know that sounds corny, but I'm like, it's just fun to be able to do this. And they're excited, and I'm excited, and we're just sharing. And listen, like, I want people to make money. I want my friends to do well. And so, whatever I can do, referrals are great. And if, hey, they remember me and give me a referral, of course, I want that. And it kind of always comes back full circle. So, it's a win win for sure.
Y- Yeah, I totally agree. And for anyone out there who is listening who may want to refer business to Shayla, so Shayla, tell us a little bit more about what you provide for you in Sarasota to your clients.
Well, I have, it's not just me. I do have a full time assistant, and her name happens to be Shayla as well. So
Well,
she's
that's funny.
available. I know she's been with me about 6.5 years now, and the Shaylas. So we have the two of us full time, and, I guess from working with my sellers and buyers, we're just at your service, basically, and happy to do that.
Well, we're grateful for you coming on our show. You gave tons of great information and strategies and content. We are so honored to have you, Shayla. Thank you so much for being on Keeping It Real. I want to remind everybody to please visit sarasotarealestatesold.com, sarasotarealestatesold.com, which is everything related to Shayla. And we'll have links to those in the show notes. Please follow her on social media, Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok. So please do that. On behalf of the audience, we want to thank Shayla for coming on our show. We appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. And on behalf of the listeners, we want to thank you, the listeners as well, to make sure to please tell a friend about the show. Think of one other agent that could benefit from hearing from our sorry, I'm gonna redo this one at the end. But anyway, yes, we are grateful to have you. Thank you so much for being on our show. And we will see everybody on the next episode. Please tell a friend. Thank you. Thanks so much, Shayla.
You're welcome. Thank you.